Oh, the Suns were gonna kill us. It'd be your own fan base sometimes. Come on, let's go to Twitter. April 15th, I posted a tweet chewing out the Timberwolves fans for being so negative and afraid to play the Suns in the playoffs. What have the Wolves done in the postseason for you to be talking like this? Suns made the finals. Dude, it's one team who has whipped our you-know-whats every time. What have you been watching? Suns, since making the finals, have always got past the first round. Won't be any different this year. Suns in 5. Suns are the Timberwolves' nightmare, dude. Ant is 1-11 against Booker. That's because they can't beat the Suns, and it's the worst matchup for them. We are literally 1-12 since 2020. You are so dumb. Why are you disgusted? You think we fans can look at this season against them and be confident we'll win this series? Good humor, guys. Anyway, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and welcome to me grading every NFL team's draft. Before we hop right into this video, don't forget to use code WyattzWorld on G Fuel or Prize Picks, where you can save yourself a discount on any G Fuel products or match up to $100 of your first deposit. But always play responsibly. That's all we got for plugs, and let's get into the video. Alright folks, so we are going to be doing this on the list today, and I gotta be honest right away. I don't think any team flat out failed the draft. I don't think any team, after all the rounds were done, laid a brick in their pants. I actually think every team for this draft did at least an overall good job. However, with that being said, at the top of this list, we will be putting the teams that I think killed it. In the middle, we'll be having the teams that I have no complaints about. And then at the bottom, we've got the teams that I think had an overall good draft, but I do have a few questions, comments, or concerns. So with that being said, let's kick it off with the Kansas City Chiefs. For them, I'm gonna say overall good, but I do have a question, comment, or concern, and that is just regarding Xavier Worthy. I mean, overall, they got several O-linemen, a safety, a corner, a tight end. For the team going to the Super Bowl, I ain't gonna try and tell them what they need. It's just Xavier Worthy. It seems like every year the draft has one guy who does something crazy at the combine, gets drafted really early for it, and then ends up not living up to those standards. And for me, that's him this year. As we've seen, speed is not everything. Now moving on, we got Baltimore. Overall good draft, but I do have a few questions, comments, or concerns, and it is revolving around Nate Wiggins. If you look at their entire draft, they attacked about every position they could have. They got a receiver, a running back, a quarterback, an edge, a safety. Then obviously Nate Wiggins in the first round, but I've just heard time and time again that the guy is small and he is not a good tackler whatsoever. But again, those are reports. I'm not a college connoisseur. Moving on, we got Philly. I hate this, but they absolutely murdered it. They did so good. Quinion Mitchell in round 1, White Lightning Cooper DeJean in round 2. Got like 2 more O-linemen, got another running back to back up Saquon. But their secondary is what needed the most assistance, and they absolutely attacked it right away, and that's what they needed to do. And after that, we've got the Falcons. Obviously, overall, I think they turned it around. After the fucking Penix pick, they got 4 D linemen and a linebacker. Like, fantastic, good job. But that first pick was stupid, and if the Falcon fans are trying to defend it, oh, we can get rid of Kirk in 2 years. You guys guaranteed him 100, so then you're just paying him $50 million a year when you originally planned on having him for 4. Like, that's not what you guys intended to do. Now, moving on, we got Miami, and I'm gonna put them in the overall good, but a few questions, comments, or concerns too, because I've just heard from Miami fans themselves that they didn't address their interior O-line issue. I mean, they did get Patrick Paul in the second round, but the first round, obviously, they got Chop Robinson. And then after that, they actually got another edge and a bunch of offensive players. However, the overwhelming feedback that the team just blatantly didn't address an issue in the draft from the fan base itself, I mean, that's pretty telling. Now moving on, we got the Rams. I don't have a complaint about them whatsoever. They got like 4 or 5 guys to throw on the defensive line now, headlined by Jared Verse to try and compensate for the loss of Aaron Donald. And then at the end of the draft, they tried to buff their O-line too, or at least try to get depth behind it, which I think is important too, considering how well we saw Kyron Williams do last year. A year ago, I think this team was getting ready to dump Matt Stafford and do a total rebuild, and now I think they're perfectly content. Moving on, we got Seattle. I have no complaints. I love their first pick getting Byron Murphy. Like I said, that's pretty much them correcting missing out on Jalen Carter last year, which they got Witherspoon, so it's not like they really missed out. But after that, they didn't have a second round pick, and they got a bunch of O-linemen, a couple of corners, which they needed after making some cuts early in the offseason, and they grabbed the tight end out of Auburn too, but I'm a Noah Fant stan, so I'm not eager to see him play. Now we've got New England. They killed it. Some people don't like the Drake May pick by them, but like, what are they supposed to do? Be scared to draft a quarterback early forever? Fuck no, take your shot. On top of that, they got the gunslinger Joe fucking Milton if it doesn't work out. They got a couple of receivers, which is an obvious need there as well. Some O-linemen for protection. I think New England did fantastic. Now we got the Commanders, and I think that they actually did really good. The only concern I would have would be if Jaden Daniels wants to play there, because I've heard he didn't. But assuming that he's just going to give it a chance and actually play it out, I mean, that was a good pick at number 2. They went right at the D-line the next round. They actually drafted Christian McCaffrey's younger brother later on. He's a receiver. They also got several pieces for their spotty secondary. I don't hate what they did. I actually love it. I just hope Jaden Daniels gives it an honest shot. Now moving on, we got Dallas. They actually picked up my friend, the University Minnesota tight end Brevin Spanford. Like, dude, it's actually like my friend's little brother. It's fucking awesome. Aside from that, though, no complaints. They got an O-lineman right away. They actually got several O-linemen throughout the draft, an edge, a linebacker. Obviously, their biggest need right now would probably be filling the gap of Tyron Smith, and they did that. Therefore, I ain't gonna bitch about it. And that'll bring us to the Cardinals. Killed it. They had a ton of picks, and they made use out of them right away, getting Kyler a weapon, getting some force to stop the run in round 2. They grabbed tight ends, receivers, running backs, offensive tackles. They got a safety. Again, around the board, they were just looking at areas where they needed to plug in. They went at everyone. And then we got the Bears, who also killed it. Only had 5 picks, but grabbed the best quarterback in the draft, grabbed the second best receiver in the draft, grabbed an offensive tackle in round 3, and then a punter and an edge. Their defense was already outstanding last year, man. If their offense clicks, it's gonna be gross. Now moving on, we got the Jets, and I have no complaints about what they did at all. They said, hey, our defense is elite, so we're just going to take offense and nothing but offense. I wasn't very familiar with any of the guys they picked up. Again, I don't watch college football, but the mentality they had would have been the same exact one I would have had. Moving on, we got the Steelers. To me, no complaints. They addressed their biggest needs right away in the first 3 rounds, grabbing a couple offensive linemen and then a wide receiver who just won a national championship. And this isn't an error. It's just the only thing I would have done different is I would have taken Brian Thomas in the first round, and then I would have probably went O-lineman. Now we got the Jags. No complaints. They did end up getting Brian Thomas, shattering my heart as a Bills fan, but after that, they went at the D-line extremely heavily. However, they did get a corner out of Florida State, Jarian Jones, that I've heard when it comes to tackling is elite, and has a wickedly good ability to transition into different roles on the fly. Now we got Green Bay. No complaints. Edrin Cooper was enormous in the second round. They also grabbed a safety out of Georgia. They had a million picks as well, so they got a ton of players. The only pick I didn't like was their first round pick, and that's just because I feel like every year the Green Bay Packers just try and be edgy and different and cool in the first round and just pick somebody completely out of fucking left field. Like, why? And this could backfire on me, but like, it seems foolish. Now we got the Saints. Murdered it. Killed it. I loved their draft. So they got Fulaga in round 1, which is good, then Kool-Aid in round 2, and then they skipped a few rounds, but in round 5 snagged Spencer Rattler. When Jalen Hurts left Oklahoma, I used to stand that guy hard. He is not a bad quarterback, and I am telling you right now, Derek Carr, if you fuck up and lose your job to him, he is not going to give it back. And now we've got the Raiders. Overall, I think they ended up doing good, but I think their first round pick with Brock Bowers was just so fucking stupid. They did grab corners, thankfully. They got O-linemen. But looking at that team in the first round in the position they were at, grabbing another tight end. I don't care what he's billed to be used at. You didn't need to do that. Good on you not settling for 46-year-old Bo Nix, but I would have either grabbed a defensive fiend or a receiver, honestly, over Brock Bowers. Michael Mayer's usage is what's really deterring me on this. Now we got the Chargers. Overall good, but I do have some questions, comments, or concerns. Now, they did get Ladd McConkey in the second round. They got Brendan Rice, who's Jerry Rice's son, way later, which, by the way, the last name doesn't mean anything. But I just don't think I would have done it the same way they would have done it. And obviously, I'm not a football GM, but being whatever pick they were, 5th or 6th overall, you grab protection for a quarterback and weapons that you don't even have. Now, your quarterback, obviously, you do want to protect. You never want Justin Herbert to get hurt again. But I would have probably grabbed a Lamborghini before I grabbed insurance on that one, because you guys had a pick in every round following. There were a million offensive linemen in this draft. Now maybe I'm gonna be horribly wrong. I just, again, kind of like the Steelers, I would have done it in reverse order. They could have had Odunze. Now we got the Vikings, and woo, did Kwesi cook. If I get over the fact that JJ McCarthy just looks and acts like the biggest douchebag I've ever seen, I'm all game for them getting a quarterback, the earliest quarterback they've ever actually drafted in franchise history. I love the Dallas Turner pick. Kyrie Jackson, hopefully gonna be a stud in the secondary. Also, the Vikings got a kicker, and a really good one, which, if you didn't know, the Minnesota Vikings and kickers don't work out. So, I mean, this has potential to actually be a game-changing draft for the Minnesota Vikings future. Now we got the Broncos. No complaints. I know I just kind of threw a stray at Bo Nix, but they rolled the dice with him. If he's good, it's gonna work out. If he's not good, well, I guess add him to the pile. After that, I think they got the 6th rank edge in the draft. They got some corners. I kind of wish they would have grabbed a receiver a little bit earlier than what they did. But then again, they didn't have a 3rd round pick, so it's probably the earliest anyone was willing to go. Now we got Cleveland. Overall good, but I do have a few questions, comments, or concerns. You didn't have a bad draft, but do you guys really just think your offense is fucking unstoppable or something? You got 1 wide receiver. That was the only offensive player you'd picked. You guys already had one of the best defenses in football, so I just don't understand it. Like, seeing what your team is with Deshaun Watson, seeing the injury Nick Chubb just suffered, you guys aren't gonna bat an eye. Now we got the 49ers. Overall decent, but I have questions, comments, or concerns. It feels like for the first 3 rounds, you guys could have clearly picked somebody better than who you picked. It kind of felt like you were being Green Bay. Also, drafting a wide receiver in round 1, if you plan to keep both Debo and Ayuk, what the fuck was that? And again, if they get rid of them, it's gonna be not a good compensation. At least I don't believe it will be. And that'll bring us to the Bills. Overall good, but I have my comments, questions, and concerns. Look, we addressed every problem we needed to. Wide receiver, safety, center. We got corners, we got depth on the edge. But my concern lies with Keon Coleman, and I got ripped for saying this on Twitter, and I will double down for it on here. I don't think he's a bad dude. I don't think he's a bad player. I'm excited to have him here. He seems happy to be here, which is fucking awesome. But after seeing, his first 2 days in Buffalo and interviews and whatnot, as goofy and funny as he is, he seems like he has the mentality of a 10-year-old. Like, it just doesn't seem to me like he's taking it serious whatsoever. Now, that could simply be his personality. Anthony Edwards, the same fucking goon. It's just, it doesn't look like we have a determined and focused receiver at all, and that right now is what arguably we need the most. Keon Coleman, I pray I'm wrong. I know you've got a phenomenal set of hands. Now moving on, we got the Panthers. Overall good, but I do have a comment or concern, and I could be way out of line here. I'm not with the Carolina Panthers. They might have great prospects, but I feel like they should have addressed the Brian Burns gap before round 6. However, Leggett, he should be a multi-tool. Jonathan Brooks is gonna relieve them of Chuba Hubbard's fucking nightmare finally. The team got better, definitely. I'm not sure, again, if they picked correctly in the order that they did. Now we got the Texans. I got no complaints what they did. They went heavy at their defense. They did go at the O-line pretty early too, but out of 9 picks, 5 of them were defensive players. 3 of them being in the secondary or a linebacker. Looking at the Houston Texans, obviously looking at their offense, I don't see anything that they really needed to address. I'm glad they got an O-lineman, but again, it was more of a team just kind of doing what they needed to do here, filling the gaps that needed fixing rather than upgrading. Now we got the Giants. They didn't have a lot of picks, but I like what they did. No complaints there. Obviously, the Malik Neighbors pick I was in love with. I think they took the right chance on him. Then in the 2nd round, they grabbed my boy from the University of Minnesota, Tyler Nubin, to try and fill in for the McKinney gap. Andrew Phillips out of Kentucky after that, and then some late round offensive help. They had a good draft. Now we got the Bengals. No complaints. They were just kind of everywhere. Again, a team that had 1 million picks and a team that was just plugging holes that needed to be plugged rather than looking at positions that could use potential upgrades. I think that's a smart thing to do, by the way. But their 1st round pick, I do want to say I do agree with it, because unlike the Chargers, they have a lot more to protect than just one guy at the moment. Now we got Tampa. No complaints from me. Right away, they fixed their center problem, grabbing Barton. They got both a safety and a wide receiver, Jalen McMillan, in round 3. But round 2, the edge they grabbed out of Bama, it's another thing that I guess I'm just reading. But Chris Braswell apparently is elite when it comes to rushing the passer. However, when it comes to stopping the run, the guy is like a fucking sieve. Now we got the Lions. From me, they did exactly what they needed to do. Corner, corner, defense, 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 defense. They did get a new tackle or guard in there, but offensive weapon-wise, this team would be stupid to try and pick one. You needed to help the secondary, and you did. Now we got the Colts. I actually think they did a fantastic job. I like the Latu pick. Getting Adonai Mitchell was a steal if the guy turns out to not be a drama queen. They grabbed 3 defensive backs, 2 offensive linemen. The team that's building towards the future, and they knew right where to start. And ending, we got the Titans. I've seen them get a lot of shit for their draft. I don't hate it. I don't have complaints about it. I think they did the right thing in round 1, getting protection for Will Levis, who they're obviously trying to build it around, but that's kind of, I guess, my worry is if he doesn't work out, you guys are screwed. They got several D linemen, several linebackers. They got a DB. Their offense clicks, and these guys played at even a fraction of the level they're expected to. This team is going to be actually decent this year. And also, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be it for me grading every NFL team's draft for 2024. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, you already know what to do to show support, but I'm sure you can guess by now this is also where I'm going to end the video for the day. Hope you guys have a safe and fantastic rest of your Monday. Enjoy the WWE draft tonight. And as always, I will see you guys in the next video.